超音速大陸間巡航パンチ
This episode was insane. Welcome back to the Kitoroki channel for another My Hero Academia anime vs manga video, breaking down season 7 episode 2 titled Spectre. With the Star and Stripe vs Shigaraki fight reaching its conclusion, the episode's title is the same as chapter 333 of the manga. The Spectre that the title refers to in the episode is of course All Might, as the quote-unquote ghost of All Might lived on through Star, as he was what inspired Star to become a hero that would cause lasting damage to All for One, as well as what would inspire the next generation of heroes following in All Might's footsteps to inherit that will of heroism, becoming threats to All for One and Shigaraki. Now, the episode starts off with a flashback to when Star had finished training with her brothers in arms. It's a touching scene where, despite being told her whole life that she couldn't make herself powerful through her quirk was because she was a girl, her brothers never once saw it that way, reassuring her that it's simply just the way her quirk works, and that her real problem is just constantly comparing herself to All Might, and to not get worked up about it because they have her back. The anime doesn't really expand on this scene all too much, but there are some added shots of the military base showing two of the X66s as well as Ethan tossing a bottle at Star. There is a slight change here, as in the manga Ethan was actually holding what looked to be a bottle of beer or a soda of some sort instead of a water bottle. After the opening, Star and Stripe vs Shigaraki continues. As Shigaraki figures out that Star is waiting for something that will end him, we get an added scene of the X66s taking formation around Star as she holds Shigaraki in place with the united laser beams. Ethan also gets added into the scene of them all realizing that both parties are forcing each other to play twisted games with each other on who will be able to get the upper hand on the make or break moment of Star making her new order. Before the missiles make contact with Star, the anime doesn't adapt the panel of the X66s doing a barrel roll, getting into position to hit Shigaraki with lasers. When Star touches one of the Tiamat missiles, redirecting them with her quirk, we get an added shot of Star. Regardless of the changes leading up to Star's state-of-the-art hypersonic intercontinental cruise punch, Bones killed it with the animation here. When Shigaraki does leap out of the hole in the crater left by the Tiamat explosion, showing Stars that despite her best efforts, he survived the blast thanks to him being able to control his decay to where he was able to tunnel into the earth, allowing him to minimize the damage he would take, reminded me so much of the Marvel film The Wolverine and the atomic bomb scene, where Wolverine takes a Japanese soldier into a well in order to survive the incoming nuclear blast. And just like in the film, Shigaraki makes the same gamble as Wolverine by tunneling into the earth right before the missiles made their impact. Shigaraki in this scene is also heavily censored, as in the manga it's clear that Shigaraki has a lot more flesh and bones revealed than his more crispy anime counterpart. I will say that the manga 100% did a way better job at displaying Shigaraki's regeneration, as with each new panel we do get to see his eyeball and face slowly regenerate itself, while in the anime it sort of just comes back, censoring the graphic display of Shigaraki's body regenerating as the panel of Shigaraki's eyeball and face is replaced with a shot of Shigaraki just heading towards Star, which this does confuse me to an extent, as later in the episode we do see Shigaraki's eyeball pretty much disintegrate when he gets hit by all of the lasers from the X66s. Regardless of this scene's censorship, I don't think it takes all that much away from the fight, as it's greatly adapted and wasn't on the level of the eyesore that was the censorship Shigaraki got in season 6. Once Shigaraki finally gets his hand on Star's face to steal her quirk, decaying her in the process, we get an added shot of poor Ethan's reaction to seeing Star lose the battle, as well as a shot of Shigaraki excited at the fact that he finally gets to steal New Order and make her quirk his own. When All for One states that he originally planned to perfect Shigaraki's body and steal One For All before challenging New Order, we get an added scene of Shigaraki standing over a defeated Izuku Midoriya. Deku in this scene is wearing his costume Delta, which makes sense as this was the last costume Shigaraki and All For One had seen Deku wear during the Paranormal Liberation War arc. Also, All For One talking about challenging New Order after obtaining One For All is such an All For One thing to say, as it reflects his mindset of I'm not fighting you, I'm fighting your quirk, and seeing the users behind those quirks as pretty much nothing, which is perfectly followed up by the added scene of Shigaraki's hand being the one holding the power of One For All right after. Without spoiling anything from the manga, in the anime when All For One recalls reading the Captain Hero comic books with his brother Yoichi, the anime adds a scene depicting All For One as an adult, which is completely wrong, as All For One was actually much younger when he read those comic books with Yoichi. Moving on, Shigaraki attempts to use New Order on the air, but it's revealed that Stars had actually created a New Order on the quirk itself, where it would oppose other quirks, and man did the animation for New Order rebelling within All For One, destroying some of the quirks within All For One, not disappoint. As Star thanks her bros for everything they've done, Commander Agpar gets an added scene where Stars apologizes to him for always being unreasonable. Added scenes like these really does add a lot to the series, as it further establishes that Star and Agpar have a real deep relationship that builds off of Agpar having a picture of a young Kathleen Bates on his desk in the last episode. When Stars remembers All Might saving her in the Two Heroes movie, causing her to live her dream of becoming a hero, and finally meeting All Might, we get an added scene of a young All Might and Cassie smiling at each other. This moment in itself is such a gut punch, as Stars is not only thanking All Might for inspiring her, but her sacrifice and salute mid-decay was her way of returning the favor to him. Now with Stars fully decayed and Shigaraki escaping from the X66s, Ethan remembers the first time they all met, as well as her salute that she made to her brothers and All Might mid-decay. In the manga, Ethan actually recalls the beginning of the fight when Stars has stated that she would make sure that their remains would make it back to their loved ones. Here, I feel the manga really hits home the fact that Stars didn't let a single one of her brothers perish mid-battle, which makes her sacrifice all the more tragic, as all of her remains would never be recovered due to her being decayed over the ocean, making it impossible for them to bring Star home to her loved ones. It's why Ethan ends up saying that Stars had always been the greatest hero. Switching over to Shigaraki as he tries to pass New Order onto a jailbreaker so that he can preserve New Order and stop it from destroying his body and quirks. Within All For One, Star reveals that New Order's revolt within him was the death of her quirk, making New Order no longer a quirk that Shigaraki can use at whim, and tells him that someone will inherit the will of heroism and strike him down. And we see that inside of All For One and Shigaraki is a suppressed Tenko Shimura. In the aftermath, we get added scenes of the military and police continuing their search for Shigaraki, an extended shot of the top 3 pros where it shows that they actually did come across the corpses of the 2 jailbreakers Shigaraki had tried to pass New Order to, and a scene of the Pentagon and Commander Agpar receiving the news of Stars' death. The Egyptian hero Salam from the World Heroes Mission movie also makes a cameo in the episode, as he's pissed that him and all of the other heroes from around the world would no longer be aiding Japan in their fight against All For One, as every nation had decided that there was a greater need for their heroes to protect their own homes, rather than save the people of some far-off foreign land, which is such a stab in the back to Japan, as heroes from Japan aided Egypt as well as tons of other nations during the crisis of the trigger bombs during the events of the World Hero Mission movie. All Might receives the quirk analysis done on Shigaraki from Ethan that was captured by the X66s, and here we get a shot of the analysis done to Shigaraki and the panels of the Central Hospital where they have originally been doing research on Shigaraki and All For One were removed from the episode. The next day, which in a timeline perspective happens 2 days after Izuku returned to UA, All Might lets Class 1A know that the deadline of Shigaraki being complete has been extended by at least a week. All thanks to Stars' sacrifice and the intel received from the X66's analysis. The episode ends with All Might realizing that All For One made a huge mistake picking this fight because Class 1A is going to be a force to reckon with in the upcoming All Out War. Now, this episode adapted 3.5 chapters, them being chapters 332, 333, 334, and half of chapter 335. Honestly, with this episode censoring a lot of the damage done to Shigaraki, it didn't really hinder my enjoyment of it. Everything adapted from the manga came out fantastic and has me looking forward to what this season has in store next in terms of quality. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on the Shigaraki versus Star and Stripe fight. Let me know everything in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button, and if you are new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss any My Hero Academia Season 7 breakdowns. With that said, I'll see you all in the next